Hello, and welcome to my TDEE workshop. This is going to be really helpful for you if you've been trying to lose weight for a while and it's not really working, or if you're just getting started on trying to lose weight. This is supposed to be like a workshop. There is a companion worksheet below this video that I recommend that you download because it has useful links inside. Okay, let's get started. Before we dive in, a quick note on who am I. My name is Regis, and I'm a certified health coach. I help women lose weight without all the struggle. To do this, I draw upon my over 10 years of personal hands-on experience in all things women's health, women's weight loss, and women's fitness. Okay, so what's the plan? Right now we're in the middle of the welcome and intro, and then we're going to move into what is a calorie, then we're going to figure out how many calories you need, then we're going to figure out how many calories you're eating, and then I'm going to leave you with some next steps. So what is a calorie? A calorie is a unit of measure for energy. So the same way that a foot or a meter is a unit of measure for distance, a calorie is a unit of measure for energy, especially when it comes to food. And so all of our food and our drinks, except for water, have calories in them. And so we eat and drink to get our energy, and we measure that energy in calories. So the next question is, how many calories do I need? So if you haven't already done so, pause the video here and download the worksheet below. The worksheet has some links in it that are going to make the next pieces easier. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate our TDEE. TDEE stands for Total Daily Energy Expenditure, which is a long way of saying how many calories you spend every day. This number is an estimate, and it is made up of a bunch of different sources. You would be surprised at how many calories go into just keeping you alive, doing things like keeping your heart beating, breathing, keeping your body temperature stable, and digesting your food. There's also non-exercise activities that we do all the time, like fidgeting or getting up to go to the bathroom or going to the fridge. And then finally we have the exercise, where we actually go and do intentional exercise, and all these things cost calories. So again, grab the worksheet and click on the link tdecalculator.net and calculate your TDE. So when you get to the web page, you'll see that you can use either imperial or metric units. So you're going to put in your information. You're going to put your sex and your age, your height and your weight, and your activity level. And then you're going to push calculate, and then keep that number that comes out the back end. Okay, so let's shift into how many calories are you eating. For this, we're going to use the MyFitnessPal app. If you haven't already downloaded it, you can use the links in the worksheet that I mentioned, and the worksheet is below this video. And it has links to install the app on your iPhone or your Android phone. So before you start thinking that this is going to be way too much work, I just want to remind you that most people eat the same meals day in and day out. So at any one time, you're probably only eating about 20 different meals. With the app that we're going to use, you can save the meal and then add it easily next time. So once you're inside the app, you can use the camera function to scan the barcodes of packaged foods. And then you just put in how much of the food you ate. For complex foods that don't have barcodes, like let's say you're making yourself a burrito, or you've ordered yourself a burrito, you're going to enter each ingredient one by one. So first you're going to enter the tortilla, and then you're going to enter the meat, and the cheese, and the salsa, and the guacamole. And for these ingredients, you want to measure or estimate each ingredient one by one. If you're going to estimate it, I really recommend that you overestimate these amounts. People are notoriously bad at estimating their food, and they tend to underestimate. So they put smaller numbers than is actually true, and it can get them into trouble when it comes to losing weight. So you want these numbers to be as accurate as possible, and if you're estimating, overestimate slightly. That way you're going to be on the safe side. Okay, so what's next? If you haven't already done so, download the worksheet below the video and use the links. You're going to calculate your TDEE, and then you're going to install MyFitnessPal. What I want you to do is, for the next 3 days, track within the app everything you put in your mouth, all the food and all the drinks. This is going to give you an idea of how much food you're eating and how many calories you're consuming every day. And this is going to give you a baseline. Why should I bother? I know you may be wondering, why should I bother? Well, I've got lots of good reasons why you should bother, but I'll keep it short. The first big reason I think it's important to track your calories for a little bit is to know what's in your food. To know, not guess, not assume how many calories you're eating every day, especially if you have a goal of losing weight. Once you've tracked your food in the app, you will know, not guess, not assume, but you will know how much food you're eating and how many calories you are consuming. With that information, you can make informed decisions. Anecdotally, there was a person who really enjoyed drinking scotch at night. That was his wind down, and he liked eating potato chips, but he wanted to lose weight. So he started tracking all of his food in a tracking app, and what he noticed were there was a few foods that he really didn't enjoy the taste of, but they were really high in calories. So think pasta with Alfredo sauce. So what he did was he swapped out the pasta with Alfredo sauce for another dish that was just as filling, but it was lighter on calories. Thinking maybe tomato basil sauce on that pasta instead of the cream heavy Alfredo sauce. So he was able to save these calories here. And what it ended up allowing him to do was having an extra whiskey in the evening. So he turned calories that he was kind of wasting on foods that he didn't really like into calories that he could savor on his favorite things like whiskey and chips. Here's another example. I have this friend who would go to the fridge when she was thirsty and get herself a glass of milk. I showed her this app and she started tracking her calories. Once she put that glass of milk into the tracker, she was shocked at how many calories was in that glass of milk. And she thought to herself, do I really need to be drinking this milk? She realized that if really what she wanted was to quench her thirst, she could do that with water. And she could take those calories that she wasn't going to be using drinking milk and put them on her next meal or another snack. And really, at the end of the day, it was really up to her about whether she would continue to drink that glass of milk, and I'm sure she still does have the occasional glass of milk. But the point I want to drive home here is she was unintentionally adding 150 to 200 calories on top of her calorie intake every time she'd go for that glass of milk without knowing it. So here's the point, is that once you know the calories that are in your food, you can be very intentional in deciding what you're going to eat and what you're going to drink. Furthermore, once you know how many calories are in the foods that you're eating and the meals that you're making, you can choose your meals more strategically as well. So if you have a heavy workout or a busy day or a big bike ride coming up, you can choose calorie-heavy meals to have beforehand so that you'll be in good shape to do well on your bike ride. Similarly, if you have a really heavy breakfast, you can then choose what to have for lunch that might be a little bit lighter in calories so that when you look at your day overall, it balances out and doesn't exceed that number, that first number, that TDEE, right? Last point that I want to make here is what you track changes. In most diet studies, the scientists have a small group of participants just log what they're eating. They don't make changes to what they're eating, they just record it. And in most studies, these participants also lose weight. This is amazing because it means that just by tracking what you're eating and paying attention to what you're eating, you could start to lose weight a little bit more easily. This is a phenomenon that is seen in human behavior where as soon as we start to track something, changes happen somewhat automatically. So really, it's win-win to track these calories. And remember, this isn't a permanent thing. You track your meals for a few days, you get a real sense of the number of calories and energy that is in each of the foods that you make. And then once you know this information, you can make informed decisions. Okay, so it is time for action. Remember, download the worksheet, click on the link and calculate your TDEE. Then click on the link to download MyFitnessPal and start tracking. For 3 days, track everything you put in your mouth, all the foods and all the drinks. And this will give you a really accurate sense of how much you're actually eating. And you'll be able to compare it to your TDEE, which is the amount of energy you're actually spending. Stay tuned for the next video where I will tell you what to do with this information and the next steps you're going to take. You can always reach me on Instagram at @CoachRegis, and I will see you in the comments.